Hello and welcome back to Marvel Puzzle Quest with me, P.I. McLeod. And well, hey, it's time. They've released the week or the year, the whatever, the class of 2016. And hey, we should probably get into that. You know, dive into who's who and what's what, and etc. etc. Right? Right. Besides, Mr. Negative is going to have his Welcome to S.H.I.E.L.D. here pretty soon. And we have a Crash the Titans tomorrow. I mean, they're kind of booking us solid. So let's get this thing done with, right? Anyways. Ooh. It's kind of cool. I like the little background for that dual nature brawl. Anyways. Class of 2016. Look at them all together. Sharing the same space and stuff. Like it's cool or something. Alright. Let's get in here. I'm only in this screen because this way you can see all the people. Nice and easy peasy. We're going to start off by describing the 5 stars. Arguably the more exciting of the characters to describe, right? I mean, big power, big abilities, etc., etc. It's all big and big and big. But I think it's important to note that even though we have some cool 5-star peeps to describe, this isn't where the money's at. If I look at this class of 2016's 5 stars, there's a couple worth noting, but they're nothing without the 4 stars that we got. The 4 stars that we got during this time were very important, pretty critical, if I might say. And only a couple of these 2016 5 stars remain even notable nowadays. But let's get through it. We're going to go through alphabetical order like we did for the 4 stars last time. And we're going to go through all these 5 stars and all the 4 stars in one sweep. So let's do this. First off, we have Doctor Strange. Whew, Doctor Strange. When 5-star Doctor Strange came out, it's at the same time as his 3-star counterpart. 3-star Strange is in the same year, so whatever I'm saying here applies to his 3-star counterpart as well, except for a couple of really one big notable thing, and that's, well, the Flames of the Faltine. Well, let's say 2 things. I'll get to it. Flames of Faltine, as the 3-star version, is just a passive, flat and plain passive. You do damage for when someone casts it, for an enemy casts ability, and it does a little bit of healing for your entire team. At the 5-star level, Doctor Strange seems to have said, I don't need to heal no one, screw that noise. He does a lot more reactive damage. You know, someone on the enemy team casts an ability, he hits a lot harder, but he's a 5-star, he should do that anyway, right? He doesn't do any healing though. Instead, he has an active ability he can do for 14 yellow. You can just kind of, hit the opponent for a lot of damage. It's not the strongest ability in the book, okay? And it's a lot of AP. It's 14 yellow just to do one big old hit. But I have to note that's on yellow. There's not a lot of yellows that are just a pure nuke. So take that for what it's worth. It is a yellow nuke. And it's just straight up damage. And not to mention his passive is still worth packing. Probably one of the top reasons people play a Doctor Strange character is for Flames of the Faltine, whether it's 3-star or 5-star. The other thing that's notably different is the Eye of Agamotto. At the 3-star level, it doesn't do all this. Let's just put that way. Instead, he just removes an amount of attack, protect, or strike tiles, and you get some purple AP back when you do it. It doesn't do anything else. But at the 5-star level, let's put up to 5 so you can see the fun of it. You make a colorless eye tile that activates every turn and removes a random enemy attack, protect, strike, invisibility, or trap tile. The eye cannot be matched and doesn't fall. It's basically the same thing as a black hole tile from Silver Surfer, in the fact that it can't match, it doesn't fall, but you can still destroy it. A match 4 right through it will get rid of it. And that's what makes the Eye of Agamotto kind of, lackluster. It doesn't remove everything or anything when you cast it. It just puts the eye out there. You have to wait till your next turn before it removes one single anything. Whereas the 3-star version at least removes a couple things right off the rip. It doesn't need to make a tile for it, and you get your purple AP back. The 3-star version is arguably better because of this. The 5-star version can last forever. It is potentially there the entire fight, but the odds of it actually sticking around are not high. It's actually, so technically for 11 purple, I'd consider it to be worse than the 3-star version because you're not getting actual, results right away. It is nice though that this 5-star one does actually target invisibility and trap tiles too, and can keep doing it. Then again, we don't really see enough enemy invisibility and trap tiles come out so often that you need a constant threat to them, you know? Anyways, I can't imagine it would be actually that good to have this out even against, like, let's say Arcade, whose entire shtick is trap tiles, right? It's not gonna, it won't matter. He puts out so many trap tiles, the eye isn't gonna keep up with it. He needs a definite buff. Finally, this one is something that him and the 3-star version both share in the same. Hey John, how's it going, buddy? 5-star, both Stranges have this Crimson Bands of Sidorak, which for 9 blue, you would choose a basic tile. It's a 3-turn countdown, stuns the enemy for 3 turns. It destroys 3 of that color AP that you choose, the tile you chose, every turn, and deals damage every turn. And so you stun the enemy, you're depleting their AP, and you're doing damage every turn. It's pretty darn good. I mean, people might be using Strange for his yellow reactive power, the Flames of Faltine, but honestly, the Crimson Bands is not a bad ability at all. It is a little pricey at 9 blue, but hey, 3 turns of stun, AP removal, and damage every turn, not bad at all. Anyways, that's 5-star Strange, and of course a little bit of 3-star Strange knowledge in there. I would consider Doctor Strange out of this class to be like, well, let me look at him real quick. Out of this group of people, I'd consider him to be high tier. Like, if we're just looking at these 9 5-stars. Overall, across all the tiers, he's probably like a lower mid. Because honestly, reaction powers aren't where it's at anymore. I mean, active powers, I should say. Everything's all about passives nowadays. But in this side of the game, he's probably high tier. That's just my vote. Well, hey, John, was that 3-star Strange and Falcon and 3-star Blade Iron Fist killed many goons for me? Yeah. When you're talking about PvE, Strange is where it's at. Strange is really good for that just because it's consistent damage output for against goons. Unless the goons we're talking about are Ultron sentries. Those can go jump off a cliff. Anyways, next up, let's move on from Doctor Strange to Black Bolt. Black Bolt's abilities are pretty unique. He was the first 5-star to come along and say, hey, you know what? We're going to make charge tiles every turn. He was the first character to say that, actually. There's not a single 4-star or 3-star or any other character in the game that is like, hey, I'm making charge tiles every turn no matter what. But even Black Bolt has his limits on that. And let's get into that. Energy Channeling. It's a passive ability. And I'm putting it at level 5 because it's where the fun's at, right? Create 2 charge tiles in the color most present on the board. So if there's obviously a bunch of black tiles on the board, more black than other colors, you're going to get black charge tiles. If there are at least 4 charge tiles on the board, you deal damage to the target instead. That's pretty darn cool. You just deal damage to the target instead. If you put it down lower level, he actually hurts himself a little bit too. So I highly suggest putting up to 5 so you don't do that. You can just do this infinitely. But that's just my thoughts on it. The other 2 abilities aren't that amazing, but we're going to go in order. Next up is the Quasi-Sonic Whisper. For 10 green, a little pricey, right? For 10 green, he actually talks. Or should I say whispers. He destroys the middle 2 rows. Deals a pretty decent amount of damage. If you have at least 5 AP in all the colors, he screams. He gets rid of all of your AP in all colors. Okay? And then he deals close to double damage to the enemy team. Those destroyed tiles do not deal damage or generate AP. So you need a way to clear out everything on the board. I don't know, maybe 3-star Sentry, put out a ton of those countdowns, and you're just like, nope, don't like that. Or, you know, whatever the case is, you could do this. But really, at the end of the day, it's pretty pricey. That's 5 AP in all colors. Do the math. There's 6 colors, because we're not counting team up, right? That's 30 AP. But wait, make it 35 because you have to have 10 green to cast this. That's a lot of AP to do that much damage to the entire enemy team. I'm not saying it's bad. It also doesn't allow you to plan anything. You can't like have countdowns out there doing work for you, or trap tiles or anything else. You're losing everything that's placed on the board. Maybe that's a good thing at the time. Maybe you have nothing out there on the board. But just saying, it's not always the biggest benefit to destroy the whole board. Depends on your situation, obviously. But then there's the worst of his 3 abilities, and of course, I guess this depends on where you are at with your roster building, and it's the Silent King. I'll put up to 5 to see the full effect. For 8 yellow, you create turn a basic tile into a countdown that targets all of his allies and increases their powers by 2 levels. So, you know, if you got this character at 355, well, now he's at 555. Or maybe the character is undercovered and they're sitting there like 212, right? Well, now they're a 434. It works, you know, for all your teammates and can make a really big difference. So it's not a bad ability, but the problem really is that he's not getting anything out of this. He doesn't motivate his own abilities up to a higher level. And the allies, I can't imagine too many players are bringing in undercovered people and expecting to beat fully covered people consistently, all because of the Silent King ability. Doesn't quite make sense mathematically. You got to have that 8 yellow to fire it just to get your other allies to do, well, their thing. So I'd say it's probably the worst of his abilities. Can it make a difference? Sure, yes it can, but I think it's probably the least impressive of his package. I'm sorry, was that John? You need to fix your Black Bolt? Did not know he could not hurt himself. Yeah, it's pretty nice. So out of the class of 2016, basically because Black Bolt is making charge tiles passively per turn, and charge tiles do ×3 damage and ×3 AP generation. And if you get 4 or more charge tiles out there on the board, he starts dealing just passive damage. I gotta give Black Bolt a high rating. It's just when you look at everyone's out here and what they do, which we'll get into that, it's constant, consistent output without you having to do too much for it. So I definitely put Black Bolt at a higher level. Next up, Black Widow. Let's see, for Black Widow, I'm just going to say it right now, before I even dive into it, she's pretty low tier for me current day, and back then was still pretty low tier as well. Okay. Wow. My echo thought I was talking about her. That's funny. No. I have to start muting my echo before I get on down here. Anyway, Black Widow's abilities. You can see why I've rated her so low. 12 AP, 12 AP, 10 AP. Everything she does is double-digit cost. The only thing she does that is, well, for free is in her black. She has this passive. This is whenever one of Black Widow's allies is stunned, she'll stun a random enemy for 1 turn. It does not change with levels. I mean, if it did it for 2 turns at level 5, I'd probably put it there immediately. But that's really the best thing worth talking about for Black Widow. But, hey, let's not fair. Let's go through all the abilities, right? For purples, tell me everything she does. Okay damage. And removes up to 3 random enemies. Strike, protects, attacks, countdowns, or repeaters. Costs 1 AP less for each enemy countdown on the board. Minimum cost is 7. Which, honestly, in my opinion, that's a crime. The fact that she can't make that minimum cost 3, because, you know, sometimes like Kingpin or someone else just throws out a whole bunch of countdowns. Come on, Black Widow, get with it. Just nuke someone for that. But whatever, for whatever reason, she can only go down to 7. I mean, it's nice for getting rid of enemy countdowns that are in weird places, but at the end of the day, 12 purple is not what we signed up for. And Black Widow, nice, John. Put this up to a 5 so you can see it. For 12 red, you deal better damage, much better damage than that purple, right? If the enemy has at least 12 AP in any AP pool, deal additional damage. Now that's where it's at. If the enemy actually has that AP in a pool, doing that extra damage actually makes this worth casting. But otherwise it's not. If it downs an enemy, destroys 7 enemy AP in a random pool. That's just a cherry on top. Honestly, you're not relying on that to win the game. It's just a nice thing. So I wouldn't, go celebrating this power for that little extra addendum at the end. Finally, red in my ledger. Cheapest of the 3 powers, 10 black. Deal some okay damage. It's pretty good. If any allies are below 20% health, you steal 4 random enemy AP and deal an extra amount of damage. Once again, that's really nice, except the fact that you have to have an ally below 20% health. In other words, you're already really hurting. Your odds of winning this match don't look good. And now you can do better with this ability? Yeah, no. I'm going to put up to 5. Just see? It just does a little more damage at 5. Nothing much else. It's kind of a shame. Actually, it really is a shame. Once upon a time, Black Widow used to be used for some anti-teams, some teams that would dissuade from certain stun factors. Like if you have a 5-star Strange on your team, people know across the game, oh, there's a Doctor Strange, let me stun him so that way I could start dealing damage with my abilities and not be worried, right? Well, they would put Doctor Strange and Black Widow together on the same team because, haha, you can't stun Doctor Strange without going through Black Widow. Black Widow's going to stun someone randomly on your team, right? So then you have to stun Black Widow first. Well, then Doctor Strange does his Flames to the Faultine against you. And, well, that's where they get you. It's just a little bit of extra defense finesse that you have to kind of wade through. Does this make her worth any more? No, not at all. I would definitely rate her low tier in class of 2016. I mean, obviously, if you're going to use her alongside Doctor Strange. They help each other pretty well, but in the end, I wouldn't really think about using her much at all. Let's move on to Captain America, the first Avenger. He recently got buffed a little bit, and when I say that, it's nice. Is it the best thing ever? No, not really, but it's better than what it was. So let's pour through these abilities. First up, I like the Earth's Mightiest Heroes. The animation is great, and the ability is not too bad either. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't tell you everything that happens. But, so if you read the text, it says, Scarlet Witch conjures a spell, Winter Soldier draws his weapon, Ant-Man raises an attack, Falcon rallies to protect, Hawkeye prepares to stun. Let's go back to level 1 here, right? All the same stuff happens, but as each level goes up, you can see the text down below. It actually tells you what happens, what gets improved on each one. This ability really needs to be reworded to kind of let everyone know what's going on, but... So at level 2, damage and protect tiles are improved. So you're getting, some sort of protection tiles and strike tiles, right? Team damage and attack tiles improved. So those are nice, right? So you're getting team damage out there, attack tiles, protect tiles, strike tiles. Now at this one, we're doing damage and protect tiles are improved at next level. And then team damage, attack tiles, and stun are improved. So there's a stun involved in there that Hawkeye is doing, right? And finally, that's when you get everything. So, point is, it's pretty cool. It's fun. It's a lot like Nick Fury's Avengers Assemble. It's a lot like, abilities that are like that, where they call upon a bunch of characters to help out. But is it the best thing ever? No, not necessarily. But it is a stun that's on yellow. I want to note that. Stuns aren't always on yellow. They very seldom are. So keep that in mind. Shield Bash is pretty fun. For 7 red, it actually does pretty good damage. And that's thanks to the recent buff that he had. That is just look at the fact that we said 7 red and it's doing 54,000 damage, right? What did Widow's red for 12 do? Like 35 or something like that? Not even close to the same. And no, my characters' levels are not that far off from each other. It's kind of crazy. That's how much the buff that they gave Captain America helped them. And not to mention, it's just Black Widow's not that good. So 54,000 damage, transforms a random basic red tile into a red 2-turn countdown that generates 7 AP in his team's strongest color. If Captain's on your team, it's probably yellow. I mean, if you were talking about Captain America right here, right? Yellow. But if you put someone else on the team along with them, you could make it generate, oh, I don't know, red. So that way you could shield bash again. Just saying. For each other member of Team Cap on his team, the AP generated is increased by 2. So yes, you could have it generate up to 11 AP in the team's strongest color. I highly suggest, making it red, because it's super fun just to be like, bam, and then like, oh, what do you know, in a couple of turns, I've got all that red AP back. Just do it again, bam. It's pretty fun. Is it the best ability ever? No, but it's cheap. And it hurts, and it can fuel itself. For those reasons alone, it's definitely worth noting. Coordinated offense for 7 blue. So let's see, you deal mild damage to the enemy target, but it is only 7 blue. So I guess we gotta give it a fair shake. For every friendly strike, protect, or attack tile on the board, which you're only getting those from his yellow if you're paying attention so far. You deal extra damage and destroy 1 enemy AP in a random color. It's not the coolest ability he has, but it isn't bad when you look at the fact that all that extra, that's 8 times 7,918, right? Because you could have 8 special tiles out there and really milk all the extra you're doing. And that's, and plus the destroying enemy AP can also ruin their day. It's only 7 blue. It's not a bad deal overall. Honestly, I don't know why I don't have red shield bash up higher and the blue down lower. I think it's my build is built on how it used to be pre-buff that he got. I'll do it right now. Why not? Boop. There you go. Much better. Anyways, overall, I'd probably rate him like middle tier. Only reason being is because he's got a lot of good damage for low AP cost nowadays. If we're talking before he got this buff, he would definitely be low tier. He's probably about mid tier now, in my opinion, just because of how much his damage has been buffed. For 7 red and 7 blue, pretty good damage, and that 10 yellow is still decent, has some good utility. Okay, Cap, done with you. Moving on to the Green Goblin. I say that very low because it's kind of disappointing how, well, not impressive he is anymore. He used to be pretty strong with his Goblin Glider. It was a nice black nuke he used to have. Well, he still has, but it's just nowadays it doesn't pack the same punch. Let's go into what it really does now. For 8 black, you're going to do 65,000 damage. That's good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's boosted right now, so that's why the number looks so fat. But here's the kick. You can't recast this ability until the 2-turn black countdown tile goes down. You basically, it self-disables. You can't keep casting Goblin Glider over and over. You have to wait for the countdown to come back. Now, of course, there's ways to speed that up, like Agent Coulson, for example. You can do things to speed up the countdown. But otherwise, you're not going to be able to cast this over and over easily. If someone matches that black countdown tile or destroys it or whatever, it's gone. No more glider for you. And that's a big detriment. Trick or Treat is actually pretty darn strong for what it does. We'll click through the buttons here, but you get 3 2-turn countdown tiles of a chosen color. That chosen tile's color determines the effect, which, here you go. For purple, you get a poison gas, stealing 3 enemy AP in 3 random colors. It's pretty decent. Basically, you get 9 AP for the 10 you spent. And it's, at the enemy's loss. It's not bad. For the yellow, you get protect tiles. which I'm sorry, each one makes that protect tile. Excuse me, wait a minute. I'm said it wrong. I apologize. This steals 3 enemy AP and 3 random colors, and that's per countdown. Okay, so you get 3 of these countdown tiles. So that's a lot of AP. I kind of forgot that it was per tile. So 3 enemy AP and 3 random colors, and then that's per pumpkin bomb. That's actually a lot of AP you can get from this. This is per projectile, that per pumpkin bomb thrown out. That's 4,204 protection, and if all 3 of them go off, well, shoot, you just gain 12,000 protection. It's not bad. The red, though, that's where it's at in my opinion. It's just pure damage, and you can get 3 of them to go off. Whew. I mean, honestly, you just want to end the fight faster, right? The blue ones do a 2-turn stun on a random foe. It's kind of nice, but the problem is it could actually all hit the same character. I've seen it happen way too often when you have like 2 pumpkin bombs out there and it stuns the same person twice. So I probably wouldn't use it unless you have like 1 or 2 people left to fight, but even then, why aren't you using the red? The green pumpkin bomb destroys 4 random tiles. So if you have them all out there, you know, they could all make a nice big chain reaction, but you're kind of gambling at that point. Might go good with other characters like Polaris and stuff like that, but what are you doing with her on Green Goblin's team? It wouldn't work too well. And finally, there's the black one. You get a black strength 4,204 strike tile out there. So this is a good one too. A lot of extra damage for everything you do from here on out, especially if you get all 3 of them off. I think 10 purple is a good cost for this because all the abilities are really strong in here. It just sucks that they are countdowns. They can be overwritten, destroyed, matched, whatever, just like anything else. So gotta be careful with that. And finally, there's the Goblin King. When Green Goblin came out, he was one of the few people that had this ability to reduce friendly countdowns. And I'm sorry, it's not a passive. It's an active ability to reduce 3 friendly countdowns by a turn at level 3. At level 5, you reduce all the friendly countdowns by 1 turn. It was kind of reminded us of the Hood when the Hood came out. But he has this passive that has been really neat, and he kind of started something. Other characters started doing stuff like this too when they came out afterwards. At the start of your turn, you fortify 3 friendly random friendly, I can talk, countdown or repeater tiles. You can tell by the text there, this is one of the first ones, one of the earliest characters to have fortification on it. Fortified tiles must be matched twice to remove them. It actually says that. Nowadays, abilities don't say that. We're used to that. This guy kind of brought that stuff into the game. It's a big deal back then because when he was teamed with goons or just anyone who relied on countdowns, it was much harder to get rid of those things. It still kind of is nowadays, but no one's turning to Green Goblin to do this stuff. Anyways, overall, I mean, yeah, he's got some high damage, but a lot of it relies on countdown tiles. The Goblin Glider makes a countdown, and you could lose it forever. The Trick or Treats are countdown tiles. They're all strong, but at the same time, you could lose them easily or get damaged or basically cast your ability and not get the effect, right away. So for that reason alone, I make him low tier. Is he better than Widow? Oh, of course he is. But that's about as much credit as I'm giving him. 5-star Iron Man. 5-star Iron Man has had a little bit of change too, much like Captain America did. So he definitely hits with a harder punch than what he used to. We'll start off with let me start off with Girl Friday, because Girl Friday is really fun, A, and B, it feeds the winning team. Girl Friday was a really fun board shake ability, and it still continues to be a nice potent ability if you can get the 10 blue to cast it. Convert 8 of the enemy's strongest colored basic tiles to red. So in other words, if it strikes, protects, whatever's out there, it won't convert them. After the board settles, because, there might be some automatic matches made, after the board settles, you destroy the remaining basic red tiles. You don't get any of the AP generated for those destroy tiles, but the matched ones you do. Now this passive is new for him. This this used to not be there whatsoever. So take it with a grain of salt. This is a whole new thing that he has now. Whenever the enemy team makes a match in their strongest color, Iron Man steals 1 AP of that color as red AP. So, in other words, if the enemy's strongest color is purple and they make a purple match, Iron Man takes it. So, in other words, they only get 2, not 3 of that purple AP. And then all of a sudden, you gained 1 red. You know, it's not like you get a purple, it's just they get 1 less of that purple and you gain 1 red. It's pretty darn nice, actually. Like, it's extra AP for you. You could definitely make an AP stealing team if you think about it, with based on Iron Man and God Emperor Doom, people that just passively steal based on the enemy making matches. It's not a bad thing at all. Free AP is, well, feedful. Of course, it only works on the enemy's strongest color, so if they don't get that, you're really not getting anything. So what are you going to do with all that red you got from Girl Friday? The winning team. For 9 red, you deal pretty okay damage. 36,000 isn't bad. But plus an extra almost double the amount of that damage for every Team Iron Man ally on the team. So in other words, if you look at the numbers here and just kind of run it in your head, if there's 3 Team Iron Man people all together, you're doing over 100,000 damage for 9 red. That's worth it. That's super cool. But of course, we're talking about the class of 2016. Is there that many Team Iron Man people in this class? Well, I think there is. Do they all work together as a good team? That's a whole nother question. Finally, let's move on to House Party Protocol. Put at level 5. For 12 yellow, you get some fortified yellow countdown tiles. They each deal damage when they go off. But the real reason you cast this, if Iron Man would take a decent amount of damage, a nice nuke or more, you remove one of those tiles and prevent that entire damage. Basically, it's just nuke protection. It's not like he's going to get protected from all the attack tiles and other tiny hits. It's more or less just he's good to sit in front of a nuke. So if you can see that the enemy has got enough AP to fire off a big ol' ability, and you got House Party Protocol out there, try to make a match to put Iron Man in front. He'll take the hit, and then the House Party Protocol will protect him entirely. It's not a bad thing at all. It's not the best version of this ever. I still take Shadow Step from Elektra over this any day, but it's there. It's an option, and plus these things do damage when their countdowns go up. You can't say that about Shadow Step. Those just kind of do little bits of damage. This actually does a nice nuke for each one. I'd say he's a good mid-tier. I think he's kind of like Captain America in that fact, where he has these good nukey abilities. He's got a pretty decent utility. He self-feeds just like Captain America does with his red. This one where the blue feeds the red. Captain America's red can feed himself. They're pretty identical when you break it down. I would, like I said, I think I'd put him at a mid-tier. Okay, Spider-Man Back in Black. Once upon a time, this guy was pretty important to MPQ. He was the only counter we had against Kitty Pryde and Rocket. And he was highly sought after by many players. That's not the way it is anymore. There's so many other ways to take down the Kitty Rocket combo. It would take a giant long video to go over all that stuff. But let's just go over why Spidey Back in Black was actually important at that time. And it all comes down to this shadowy acrobatics. If I put this up to 5, which I will for this example, enemy strike tiles add 100% less damage to a minimum of 1. While at least one enemy is stunned, Spider-Man is also invisible. That's always a nice little cherry as well, right? That enemy strike tiles adding 100% less damage is amazing. It's really the reason why Kitty Rocket teams were stopped, if they were stopped back then. If I could paint a picture here. Imagine what we just went through with Green Goblin. We talked about his pumpkin bombs making 4,000 strength strike tiles. Oh no, he put 3 of them out there, right? Well, if you got Spidey Back in Black on your team, it only counts as 1. It's not 12,000 extra damage, it's 1. So not a threat, right? It's a non-issue. So Spidey Back in Black has this utility, and it really does. It can put an end to strike tile woes. I'm trying to think of how to say it best, you know. That whole thing about being invisible when an enemy is stunned. Well, that is because, well, I shouldn't say because, but it goes hand in hand with his Tyke Web Dough. For 6 blue, which is pretty cheap, mind you, if he is invisible, he deals 26,000 damage, which for 6 blue is pretty decent, really. And he has yet to get a buff that he really deserves, so that should be higher. Anyways, otherwise, he just stuns the target for 1 turn and deals, about half that damage. Keep in mind that since the target is stunned, then he'd be invisible afterwards because of his purple. If you have other ways to stun the enemy, keep in mind that would make him invisible and keep that rolling. Just, food for thought. Automotive Artillery is really expensive at 14 green. It really needs to be buffed along with the rest of this character. But 40,000 damage to the target enemy, ignoring projectiles, which is, it's okay. It's a nice little bonus. And stuns a random enemy for 4 turns. I don't understand why it's a random enemy. I mean, what? Did they watch that dude get crushed with a car and decide, like, they just stand there slack-jawed for 4 turns, not knowing what to do? I'm not sure the logistics. I would think the person who got buried by a car would be the one stunned for 4 turns, but that's just my thought. Anyways, so since the person's stunned, of course, Shadowy Acrobatics kicks in, and then Spidey gets his Tyke Web Dough bonus going. What would I think of Spidey Back in Black nowadays for class of 2016? I'd say low tier. His damage does not compare to what Iron Man, Captain America, or even some of the passive output of Black Bolt. He doesn't compare. He doesn't have anyone throwing major strike tiles at him in this fight, so his utility is greatly diminished. Unless you got a nice stun team rolling, I wouldn't see putting him with you. Thanos. 5-star Thanos and 3-star Thanos came out at the same time, and they did basically like Doctor Strange did. They married each other. Whatever 3-star Thanos did, 5-star did as well. But there's a couple of key differences, just like Strange had. We'll start with Court Death, which is the whole reason we use Thanos. I mean, if you've been watching any of the streams, you know I do this all the time. Put it up to, we'll put it at my level of 4 and let you see the difference here, nice and easy. So when you down an enemy, in other words, this can only work like up to 2 times per normal fight, you stun all characters except Thanos for 1 turn. Then deal a ton of damage to all the enemies and a pretty decent amount of damage to his allies. That's impressive, because if you think about the fact of this being passive, you're not casting anything to have this happen. This just happens, period. It's definitely a way to speed up a fight, and it speeds up a lot of boring PvE battles as well. This is the whole reason people use Thanos, is because of Court Death. If you bump it up to level 5, it deals even less damage to Thanos' allies and stuns everyone for 2 turns. You might wonder why I would want to, why wouldn't I want less damage to my allies? Why aren't I doing 2-turn stuns, right? Well, if you know who 5-star Black Panther is and how he works, well, then you understand. Black Panther, when he gets stunned, once he gets out of stun, he retaliates for like 10,000 damage or whatever it is. Point is, the retaliation damage is worth it to get that out there quicker and potentially triggering another Court Death. So that's the reason I keep it at 4, is just for Black Panther pairings. Moving on, Infinite Power. This is one of those... Oh, I'm sorry, I should say it real quick. Court Death on 3-star Thanos level doesn't have any stuns. Doesn't stun anyone across the board. Does obviously substantially less damage. I shouldn't have to say that, but the fact that there's no stuns is one of the reasons why I like using 5-star Thanos more often. You don't have to. You could probably pump it up yourself. I know there's some people that use like 3-star Thanos along with like Rocket or Okoye or anyone else that can boost damage, making 3-star Thanos entirely viable and very much worth it. I like the stun factor, and of course there's that extra damage that he's doing to his teammates, which lets me get 5-star Thor to his half health level even quicker. Anyways, moving on. Infinite power. For 8 purple, you get a countdown tile, and while it's on the board, you do extra match damage. And then no tiles may be destroyed or changed except by Thanos. So in other words, if your teammate, let's say Iron Man's your teammate, and he's like, how's party protocol? The game's like, nope. You get nothing. You get no countdown tiles from it because Thanos' infinite power isn't letting you. Anything that changes anything on the board, creating strikes passively with Old Man Logan, nope. Kitty Pryde can't even put out her repeater, or countdown to eat tiles. Kitty can't put out anything that she normally does. Infinite power stops a lot of things cold and dead in its tracks. 3-star Thanos can't do that. 3-star Thanos gets a purple countdown tile that increases his match damage, but he doesn't stop people like 5-star Thanos does. Finally, there's Come and Get Me. Now this is the same for both 3-star and 5-star. For 12 green, you get a 3-turn countdown tile that makes Thanos the tank for your team. He just stays in front. He does not move from it, except for like when someone casts something, and then Thanos just gets right back in front when an enemy casts or does anything. He is your tank for these while that countdown's out there. When the countdown tile goes off, you deal a bunch of damage to the enemy team. Now, this is probably his least or worst ability amongst all of them. It is okay, but he doesn't have any sort of defense, healing, things like that to make him the greatest tank ever. So I struggle to find a really good reason to keep this up at level 5. Honestly, when I'm using this character, I'm trying to use other people's green ability because it's just not worth 12 green to put a countdown tile out that makes this guy that shouldn't tank start tanking. Anyways, for these reasons that I've already mentioned, Thanos, I rate him very high. He's definitely a high tier character in this class. But you got passive damage output when someone dies and stun value as well. That is superbly good across all levels. I can't understate it enough. I can't overstate it, I should say. Wrong words. Finally, 5-star Banner, the Hulk. When he came out originally, it was meh. As time went on, he just got worse and worse and worse because his abilities were already kind of meh. But nowadays, they buffed him. And honestly, he can be kind of scary. And let's get into why. How do I start? I guess let's go with the worst ability he has first. Smartest guy in the room. I'll put up to 5 just to see the full effect. For 7 black, he creates some pretty substantial attack tiles and an additional strength enemy attack tile for each non-downed ally. In other words, your allies that are living. For every Illuminati or genius on the team, you also create another strength attack tile. Now, I got to note that used to not be in there. The Illuminati or genius part, that wasn't in there before, and of course these tiles used to be a lot weaker. You might see that little arrow over there on the side saying there's another part to his kit. I'm going to save that for a moment. You'll see why. Gamma Ray Experiment is a passive. Once again, another reason why I like Bruce Banner Hulk now, especially in this class. At the start of his turn, if there are fewer than 9 green tiles on the board, you just deal damage to the enemy and transform 3 random basic, or thanks to the buff, enemy attack, protect, or strike tiles to green basic tiles. He used to not do that. He used to just only do basic tiles. So now he has a way of actually targeting, getting rid of enemy tiles passively. That's a big deal. So it's passive damage and getting rid of some enemy attack protect for strikes. That's amazing. Plus, they obviously it's turning him to green, which is a good thing, which is because of the other guy. It's another passive. At the start of his turn, if his team has 6 or more green AP, and 1 does not exist, he gets a 2-turn transform countdown tile. When that goes off, he turns into the Hulk, which is obviously the whole reason to use Bruce Banner on anything you can think of, right? The Hulk replaces Banner until he's downed and makes matches for his team at the turn start, which is true. That match he makes is a normal match. It's just like, how do I say it? Like 4-star Groot. 4-star Rocket Groot, you know how Groot's green? He runs off on his own and makes his own match. Same thing. Hulk will make a match at the beginning of the turn, whether you like it or not. And you get the AP, and of course the damage gets done from it. Used to be, pre-buff, he didn't get the AP. You did the damage, but didn't get the AP. And that's a big changer now. So you got a free source of AP at the beginning of your turn when you get the Hulk out. This extra part is also new because of the buff. Banner's apparent frailty, blah, 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 blah. Basically, Banner takes 25% less damage from enemy matches and powers. So he can actually act as a tank. Remember when I said Thanos gets to be a tank, but he doesn't have any extra defense? Yes, Banner has more defense than Thanos does. Kind of laughable, right? Anyways, so what happens when the other guy goes off and now you turn into the Hulk? Let's get back to the sun's getting real low. Let's go smartest guy in the room. We'll change this to Grrrr. Anyways, passive ability. Start of his turn. Hulk makes a match for his team. That's basically what the other thing was talking about. Deals damage and receives AP, then destroys a random tile of the same color, prioritizing enemy strike, attack, protect tiles. Once again, he's getting rid of enemy strike, attack, and protect tiles. Not to mention making AP passively. This clears lines and creates crits, but no extra turns. Nothing changes from 3 to 5. Okay, there's a whole reason why I have this black at 3, because I mean the extra attack tile strength really isn't worth it in the end, especially since the red isn't gaining anything from this. Okay, makes sense? I think it does. His gamma ray experiment turns into smash. So for 7 green, he deals 23,000 damage to the enemy team. Just pure damage. All it is. Now, I want to put a little caveat. If you're using the Bruce Banner Hulk, you want to keep like 6+ green AP on you at all times. You don't want to just smash away unless you're going to win the fight with it. Reason being, because if you get down, like if Hulk actually hits 0 health, right? Well, sun's getting real low. He takes an additional 75% damage from matches and abilities, but when he manages to calm, he returns to Dr. Banner. Basically, when he's downed, he turns back into Banner with full health. Now, I mentioned keeping some green AP on hand. That's because if you have enough green AP, he goes back to Bruce Banner. All of a sudden, he's got that countdown tile out again. He's going to turn into the other guy. And that, basically, you have an infinite health tank if you think about it. Because Hulk comes back to life at full health. Banner comes back with full health. Bruce Banner is pretty darn tanky, especially when you put all his passes into play. So for these reasons, because he's so tanky, because he could get full health back on each transformation, his ability to get rid of enemy tiles passively, I rate him, if not the highest, very high in this class of 2016. I would definitely say a team of Bruce Banner, Black Bolt, and I'd say either Thanos or Doctor Strange. That's pretty scary if you're talking about our 2016 PvP. I say Strange just because it threatens the enemy. You know, they don't want to like cast anything without going through them, and that gives Black Bolt time to build up his charge tiles and Bruce Banner to be hitting passively over and over again. You could use Thanos as well, because obviously with these two pumping out damage, he's going to get to do his court death even quicker. But that's just me thinking out loud. Anyways, that's our 5 stars for the class of 2016. And I know I talked about going over the 4 stars, but we're going to save that for another stream because we're almost at the 1 hour mark. And that's been a lot of chatter. I didn't realize how long it was going to take about 9 5-star characters to talk over. So we're going to leave it there for now. Next time we'll go through the 4 stars, which is, you know, a decent set. And there's some very important 4 stars in here. Some not so much, but some that are very, very game changing. And there you go. I got hit again in Class 2016. Bound to happen, right? All right. Thank you very much for watching and joining, John. I appreciate it. And that's it for me. I'll see you guys tomorrow night for the Crash of the Titans, as always, on my Procrastination Sundays. And beyond that, we got Mr. Negative's Welcome to S.H.I.E.L.D. that we'll start doing day 1 and 2 for on Monday. Okay? Somewhere in the middle there, we'll do the 4 stars for Class of 2016. Talk to y'all later. Thanks again. Good night.